Senator Jeff Merkley is on the line with us. Senator, we're not at the moment live on Sirius XM, so if you can stick around for another 4 minutes, we will rejoin them. But we are live right now on Free Speech TV across the United States, on all our Pacifica stations, on YouTube, on Facebook, all over. So about half our audience total right now. But I saw that you were on the line, and I didn't want to have you sit for the 2 minutes and 49 seconds that's still left in this commercial break. How are you, and what's up?
Well, I'm fine. Of course, I'm very frustrated with the state of America. It's a time to be angry. It's a time to be frustrated. Here we are on Martin Luther King Day, and Martin Luther King talked about he loved the Good Samaritan, but he didn't want to be the Good Samaritan, just picking up people beaten and broken on the side of the road. He wanted to change the road so that people wouldn't be beaten up and broken in the first place. And unfortunately, this is not a time when we have any leadership working to change the road to Jericho, to address education and health care and housing and living wage jobs.
Well, in fact, it seems that we have the exact opposite. We have an administration that seems to be committed to driving us back to the late 1950s, when the entire state of Virginia shut down their schools in response to Brown versus Board for a year. This is, how it seems to me that Betsy DeVos is running the education department, that Pruitt, and now what's the guy who's replaced him, Walker, is running the EPA. I mean, you go through the list. It's like they want to take us back 2 generations.
Oh, it's right. It's very discouraging, and it's a time for everyone to get off the sidelines. Everybody needs to be engaged, whether it's helping as a reading tutor in your local grade school, with Start Making a Reader Today, or at the food bank, whether it's running for office, whether it's helping out in a campaign. But nobody in America can sit still until we reclaim our We the People democracy. Yeah.
So you're doing a lot to accomplish that, to reclaim We the People democracy. Senator Jeff Merkley, we've got a minute until we're going to rejoin our stations, and then we'll continue the conversation. We could recap this. But you were just involved in a big way, or on an ongoing basis involved in a big way with what's going on down on our southern border. You want to give us a recap?
You bet. The administration has been plotting and planning almost since it came into office on how it was going to say to the American people, we have a wave of murderers and robbers swarming our border. But meanwhile, they were acknowledging in their planning, what they're really planning to do is stop families fleeing persecution from coming to our border by mistreating those families, by criminalizing the parents, by taking away the children, inflicting trauma on them, as a message of deterrence, the exact opposite of the vision of the Statue of Liberty. And this has gone through many phases now. The administration gave up then the child separation when they were taken to task by the American public back in June of last year, after I went down to the border. And the courts weighed in as well, and that was great. But now we have the administration saying they never even had such a policy after having locked up and separated thousands of children. And Kirstjen Nielsen, the Secretary of Homeland Security, is right at the kind of the point person on that. And
Sir, we're gonna rejoin our commercial stations right now. Just hold on, please. We'll be right back. Okay. On the line with us is Senator Jeff Merkley, and one of the just really solid, good guys in the United States Senate. Merkley.senate.gov is his website. You can tweet him at @SendJeffMerkley. And Senator, we were talking just a moment ago. You were recapping basically what the Trump administration has been doing with regard to refugees seeking asylum from south of our borders, and the rationale behind it. You want to recap that and then tell us what the current state of affairs is?
You bet. They've been pursuing a policy of inflicting trauma as a strategy of deterrence. And that means criminalizing the parents. It meant the child separation policy. They now set up a system of child prisons that in December had 15,000 migrant children locked up in America, and then in family internment camps. And I've visited 2 of those down in Texas. Who would believe we have family internment camps in the United States of America? And yet we do, and they're growing. And so in the face of all this, we have to take this administration to account when it lies to Congress, when it lies to the American people. And that's what's happened with the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen. She has denied there was any family separation policy. She did it under oath. I'm fed up, so that's why I launched a letter to the FBI saying it's time to do an investigation for perjury. The administration planned child separation. They implemented child separation, and to lie to Congress and the American people about it is unacceptable.
There's something bizarrely, I'm not sure that ironic is the right word, about the chief law enforcement officer of the United States committing a felony before Congress right in front of the whole world on camera. Is that it sounds like that's what you're alleging.
Well, the Jeff Sessions was often inaccurate to Congress. In this case, the Secretary of Homeland Security, maybe not the chief and law enforcement officer, but certainly
I guess she's one step down from him.
Security figure in the cabinet.
Yeah.
And Kirsten continues in that role. She should resign, but for her, we had 2,700 children documented under family separation. Just last week, the Inspector General came out and said the administration undoubtedly locked up thousands more before and after that policy, and not just locked them up, but separated the children from the parents, an untold number. And this is with our tax money, with our government, on our property, inflicting pain and suffering on children as part of a political strategy. It's unbelievable this is happening, and we got to put an end to it.
Well, now there's another 800,000 families and their children who are also experiencing pain and suffering as a consequence of Trump administration policies, specifically to accomplish a political end. Your thoughts on that, and where are you taking this? Where do we go with this? What do we do about this, sir?
Well, so the president, when he spoke to the American people about his new plan to resolve the government shutdown, you notice he didn't say a word about those 800,000 families that are suffering, or the hundreds of thousands of families of contractors who are suffering. He doesn't get it. He's okay inflicting trauma to migrant children and families because he doesn't feel their pain. He's okay inflicting pain and suffering on hundreds of thousands of federal workers because he doesn't feel it. And we have to take control back. Congress needs to take control of it back. And so the House adopted the policies and the spending bills that the Senate under Republican leadership had passed. They repassed them this Congress and said, Congress is supposed to set policy. Let's set it. You pass these bills, Republican Senate. We've agreed, Democratic House. Senate, repass them, send them to the president. And Mitch McConnell is just hiding somewhere, refusing to have the Senate stand up for the bills it's already passed, and basically yielding to the president's temper tantrum.
We're talking with Senator Jeff Merkley. Senator, in the minute and a half or so before we hit a hard break, and it's the end of this segment, what can we do? What can average citizens do? I mean, is this time for us to call 202-224-3121, call the switchboard for the Senate and say, I want to talk to my senators?
Early and often, especially if you have a Democratic senator, say stay the course. If you have a Republican senator, say stand up and repass those spending bills and put our government back to work. The hostage taking by the president, who, by the way, had agreed to these bills before, at the time that they were passed by the Senate. Tell them to end the hostage taking, vote on these bills, reopen the government, and then fight for real border security, not a 30-foot, 4th century wall that is now a symbolism across the world of racism. We're here on Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King wanted us to build bridges, not walls. That's good advice to take to our heart.
Sir, do you sense that any of your Republican colleagues might be willing to back away a little from their embrace of Mr. Trump on this issue?
Yes, they are searching for a way out. They are very worried about alienating the members of their base for their next primary election. But there are just times when you have to do what's right for America, and that means stand up for these bipartisan bills, Republican-led bills from the Senate, and stand up for the principles of putting America back to work.
There you go. Senator Jeff Merkley, always standing up for America. Merkley.senate.gov, the website. Send Jeff Merkley is the Twitter handle. Senator, thank you, Merkley. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom.
Please keep up the great work and keep us up to date on your other ambitions. love to have you back and talk about that.
Will do. Very good.
Thank you, Senator.